What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilkin. We need to talk about episode 5 of Dragon Ball Daima because, well, we got a lot more lore here. This is basically another lore-centric episode. They're doing a lot of world building here, which kind of leads me to believe this is going to be a longer series than we kind of expected. Essentially, Bulma and Vegeta have not made it through yet. We do find out that it's going to be a little harder for them to get here than we initially had planned. But by the end of the episode, we actually have a plan for that to happen. So we'll get to all that here shortly. Now, my basic, I guess, first impressions of the episode. This not being, like, it's not a terribly action-packed episode, but we do get a lot of lore. So story-wise, I'm going to give this a solid 9. I think there's a ton of story going on here. And you get a lot of the classic Dragon Ball sound effects. Like, it's a very comfortable place. So sound design wise, I'm also going to give it about an 8 because I feel like they could have done a little better with the Foley at times. But honestly, it is what it is. Animation. Now, I've been pretty happy with the animation so far, but there were a couple of kind of janky sequences here and there. And, you know, I know Toei's stretched a little thin. I know that One Piece is getting ready to go on the first hiatus in a long time, and I'm sure the animators are working their tails off, but there were moments in the animation where I wasn't terribly altogether happy with it. I'm going to give it a 7.5, and if that sounds a bit aggressive, let me kind of justify this by saying if you consider that a 5 is your halfway point, a 5 is the average. You take the best, the worst, you average them out, that comes to be a 5. So 7.5 is still well above average and in the excellent range. You know, there is nothing wrong with a 7.5 score for animation. However, it does mean that I did see room for significant improvement. And I think, honestly, there's a lot of digital things that you can do nowadays with a lot of this footage. When they render the footage, you could render the footage out in whatever resolution you want, essentially. This is all vector imagery, and I'm not going to get too deep into the animation side of this, but for all intents and purposes, this is all vector imagery on a PC. You can render that out whatever resolution you want. So when they're drawing these characters and everything on their tablets, I would just like to see some of these scenes rendered out and kind of a little more dynamic at times. And I've seen that with the previous episodes. I didn't see it as much here. So I am going to be a little harsh on the episode. That said, I mean, overall, I'm still going to give it like a solid 8. You know, the highs were really high. The lows weren't very low. It was a good episode. Now, the one thing, and most of what drug it down were the rare action sequences. Now, we did get introduced to Pansy. She's a brand new character, and she is another one of these Demon Realm species. There's several that we're getting accustomed to here now. I know the Supreme Kai, he's what they call a Glind, and then I forget all the species that are involved now. I just remember his off the top of my head, but we're getting introduced to a lot more species, and she even mentions, she's like, Goku, your ears are round. What's the deal with that? And he's like, oh, I'm a Saiyan. And she never heard of Saiyans, which makes sense. I mean, it's the Demon Realm. They're from a whole other realm. It is what it is. So, as the episode kind of progresses, we just get Pansy really kind of mouthing off to the Supreme Kai. And she's got a big personality. Not in a bad way necessarily, but she is a little on the arrogant side from time to time. But that's okay. She's an interesting character. And as they kind of go along, she basically becomes an exposition machine to kind of expound on what we know about the Demon Realm. So we're 5 episodes in, and for the last, I'd say 4 episodes, we've just been learning more and more and more about the Demon Realm. Now, what's really interesting is she mentions that everyone in the Demon Realm can do some kind of magic trick. And Goku, I love Goku. Goku's like, I could touch my nose with my tongue. Okay? I love it. She's like, that's not magic, dude. And I love this because I wonder, honestly, I don't remember ever in Dragon Ball. And now that I'm thinking about it, I want to say maybe Goku did. That is total Dragon Ball era Goku, though. I don't recollect if he ever did that, or if this is literally just some insane posterior pull. But I loved it. I enjoyed it. And what I loved even more, and we know that Toriyama is a fan of sci-fi in general, she literally starts to lift a rock, like as her trick. She literally starts doing Jedi mind tricks. And I was just like, this is fantastic. I don't know if a lot of people caught that, but to me, that's exactly what it was. So you could see her concentrating. She's trying to do that. And I know it's like classic Dragon Ball, but the fact that she literally started to lift a rock really took me back to like the original Star Wars trilogy. So I don't know if that's a deliberate reference, but it felt like it to me. I really very much enjoyed that. But I mean, and it's not out of the realm of all things Dragon Ball. I mean, we saw Goku and Frieza and Vegeta and all them on Namek, that basically the way they power scaled them at the time was how much of the ground were they literally lifting and shattering just by powering up. So it's definitely not an unheard of metric in Dragon Ball. It's just a very interesting one that I don't think I personally hadn't really expected to see again for quite a while. So very interesting that. But as they move along, essentially, you find out that basically they're looking for a way around the demon realm. And they get to this castle. They get to Kadan Castle. And as they get there, you find out that Glorio has like some business there, and he's spoken with King Kadan. And one thing leads to another, and he's not really getting anywhere. And Pansy walks up. You're like, oh, she's the princess. She's the daughter of King Kadan. You're like, oh, great. Okay. Fantastic. And she even mentions, she mentions that she is good with like mechanical stuff. So literally we're looking at the Demon Realm's Bulma. That's literally what she is. Demon Realm Bulma, which is, I mean, the personality tracks, it is what it is. It absolutely is what it is. So she's, I'm so far, like, I'm a little critical of her, but I am quite enjoying her presence. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm picking on the character too much. I'm actually really enjoying the character, but I'm just making some, I guess, observations about her so far. But unfortunately, she has so far just been used as an exposition machine. I would like to see more from her, and I get the feeling we are going to see more from her. But when they get to the castle, there's like this tournament going on outside, and there's all this talk of like how strong Goku is. And basically, Goku's more or less like challenged to go out there. They're like, they told King Kadan kind of yells at Glorio. He's like, you said you were going to bring someone that was strong enough to defeat Boo. And I love the fact that Boo is... I think we're going to find out more about Boo, interestingly. But Boo seems to be like the big metric that they've been pushing here. And I know it's just past post Boo arc. But Boo is kind of like an unknown. And if they're going to tie him a little bit more closely to the Demon Realm, I'm kind of okay with that. Because they have kind of been calling these people Majins and things like that. So it does make sense in a way. Now, Kankadon basically is tests Goku and puts him out there with everybody. And I love the fact that Goku just wipes the floor with everybody. Like, he is literally just playing. He's literally having fun, just sparring. And it's great to see Goku finally just sparring for the fun of sparring, and I loved it. The one thing I thought was really interesting is he at one point gets grabbed by a bunch of dudes and literally goes Super Saiyan and blows them back. Now, I think so far, I want to say aside from the opening, that's the first time we've seen Goku go Super Saiyan, and it almost felt like an accidental power-up. Personally, for me, I was kind of hoping that Goku would kind of have to rediscover that power. They kind of led you down that path at one point, but he kind of does it accidentally and blows everyone back. And of course, it's Goku. He wins the day. And it's just great. All these interactions, all these jaw drops of people that are just like, okay, I guess you're the real deal. And basically the end of all of this is that Goku, essentially by winning the tournament, King Kadan is like, All right, I'll set you up with a flying machine. I'll set you up with a new spaceship. All this. The one caveat he says, and this is kind of what we got to earlier in the episode. He says like the old pin that you used to pass through the warp gate isn't going to be viable anymore. You won't be able to use that, so you have to set a new one. And so that's where we kind of get this impression now that Bulma and Vegeta and that whole crew are going to have a much harder time getting to the demon realm than we initially thought. However, King Kadan's got like this assistant. I don't know. He's crazy. When they first introduced this character, he's just kind of dancing around. And he's spinning and twirling. And King Kadan's like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm practicing my ballet. Okay. Just matter of fact, he's practicing his ballet. Oh, all right. But this character's name is Hybis, and he even mentions that Hybis needs to go get basically needs to go get the rest of the crew from the other realm, or I guess the other realm's a whole other. Anyway, doesn't matter. They need to go get Bulma and Vegeta and everybody else. So, I think they call it the outside world is the way it's translated. And Hybis is like, all right, cool. Got it. Like, he seems just very... He seems so far to have the personality of spicy banana pudding. Like, what I mean by that is the dude has, like, no expression. But he's got, like, this quirk and this weirdness about him that I love. I think he's going to be, like, a source of joy and laughter as this series progresses. So I'm looking forward to more of Hybis's his particular goings on. So basically, they get the flying machine. We find out that Glorio isn't so great with mechanics, but since Pansy is, she kind of goes with him, and she brings like truckloads of just junk onto the ship. And literally the last few seconds of the episode, they're flying off, they're taking off, and you find out that Pansy had accidentally overloaded the ship. The engines go out, and they're just going down. Now, obviously, it's a comedic moment. The stakes are pretty low. It's not that big of a deal, but I like that little addition. She's very... And that's, once again, that's something Bulma 100% would have done back during Dragon Ball. So I'm loving that we're going to have literally this Bulma-like character, and when Bulma gets her, Bulma's going to hate her. Bulma's going to hate her, but they're so much alike, and I'm looking forward to it. So, episode 6 will be coming out next Friday. I'm looking forward to it. If you guys are, hit that old thumbs up button, and I'll be back for more coming up real soon.